up, wake up, wake up. Come on. Let's see your face. Let's see your face. Start coming on. Start coming on. What we got? What we got? What we got this morning? It's getting a slow trickle this morning. We got a slow trickle. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see your smiling faces. Good to see your energy, to feel your energy. Everybody on Facebook, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining on Facebook. Thank you for joining in the regular community. Looking forward to this conversation. Looking forward to seeing your wonderful, beautiful face.
Peace and blessing, brother. Thank you for being here. Peace and blessing.
Thank you. Peace and blessings. Beautiful. As you come on and get your mind right, get ready, get set. We're gonna get this party started. We're gonna get to some real good stuff. It's gonna clear some stuff out for you, bring some clarity on a level that you probably you probably have not experienced yet, or wish you could experience, but we're gonna make some clearing happen today. Feels good, it feels good, feels good.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke.
With 7 strikeouts, bringing his career total to 2,700. The Memphis.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, hello. Everyone out there on Facebook, everybody in the regular community, so glad to see your smiling face. So glad you decided to join us this morning. And we're gonna go on and start this, as they would say in New Orleans, we're gonna start cooking this gumbo. Because this gumbo is gonna be loaded with all kind of stuff, some shrimp, some crab. We're gonna make our roux first. How many of y'all know anything about New Orleans? That's where I'm from. That's where I've lived a long time at. You know, we have sayings in New Orleans, like, you know, every Monday you got eat red beans and rice, some traditions, you know. There's a lot of superstition in New Orleans too. A lot of stuff made up, right? And you know, the things that we make up have a lot to do with oftentimes our tradition, oftentimes, you know, the way we were raised and what we were taught while we were growing up as a child. Now, I want to share with you something that I've learned. first of all, I'll give you a little background for those of you who don't know me. I've been a life coach. I'm one of the pioneers in life coaching. In other words, I started it before it was really a thing. I was doing it since 1990, so I have 30 something years of practice as a life coach. And one of the reasons why I called it life coaching was because, number one, I had coaches all my life as an athlete. I always had coaches in my life. And so I thought that since I benefited from having coaches in my life, other people would benefit from having coaches in their life. But the main reason why, number two, the main reason why I called it life coaching was because I felt like life was already coaching you already. And the thing is, we have what we weren't. What I found and observed that people weren't listening to their life. So I wanted to become an advocate, a voice for your life to get you to listen to your life. In other words, to get you to trust yourself. And as you trust yourself, then you would, of course, get better results. So when I would say life coach, I wasn't saying that I was the coach. I was saying that your life is coaching you. I'm going to get you to listen to your life. So now, that said, I want you to keep that same concept in mind as we go through this process, because what I'm going to be sharing with you is some things that I use, techniques that I use when I work with my clients. So I'm not going to give you a session, but I'm going to give you sort of like a warm up to us going into a deeper dive to help us clear some stuff out. This particular topic, we're making all this shit up, will clear a lot of stuff out for you if you're courageous enough to lean into it. Now, it also can be scary because of what we've been taught to believe. So now I want to say this, psychologists and experts say through study that from 0 to 7, all of our programming is set in. We come into the world in what they call a theta brainwave phase, which means that we are basically in a semi-hypnotic state, which also makes us what they say super learners. We are sponges. We're absorbing and sucking everything up, mainly through observation. So we're learning at a high rate of speed. And the reason why that is so is because when we come into this world, the world is already in motion. People have already made decisions. There are rules already engaged. There are things that are happening, traditions. There are things going on that as a child, you have no clue about what to do about with that. And the world doesn't say, let's stop for a minute and let's give Lil M an opportunity to catch up. Let's give Lil M an opportunity to understand how this world works. It doesn't do that. It keeps going and you have to catch up. So what the universe did, when we come into this game, we come in as super learners so we can catch up. But a lot of stuff we learn shapes our thinking and codes our brain subconsciously with the basic coding of what we're going to take into our adult life. And to be honest with you, what I've found is throughout the years that a lot of us get stuck in a child state and almost never become fully adults. Now, I want you to say that's not a knack. That is a condition of this world that most of us experience. What sometimes happens is we go through an event and we make that event mean something about ourselves that stunts our growth, that makes it hard for us to grow beyond that point until we deal with the repercussions of what we've made. So I want to give you an example, and then we'll go into the discussion. So I'm not a lecturer. I'm a person that facilitates conversations. So I thrive on conversations. So some 15 years ago, I did an experiment, and I want you to participate in that experiment. The experiment was simply this. I contacted 10 of my friends, and I said to them, I said, listen, I want to take all of y'all out to dinner. I said, but there's a catch. I'll pay for the dinner, but the catch is going to be, I want you all to all have the exact same meal, the exact same main course, dessert, appetizer, etc. Everybody have to have the exact same meal and drink and dessert. They agreed, of course, because I was paying. It's like, yeah, we'll do it. So everybody had the same meal. We sat at the same table in the same restaurant. It was a beautiful experience. And so while we're talking, the conversations are so rich, I decided to become a little more generous. And I say to them, I want to take y'all to a concert. So there's a concert going on down the street. Let's go to this concert. And so to go to the concert, I come out of my pocket again and I splurge to get a stretch limousine so us all to fit in. So we all ride in the same stretch limousine to the same event. We get in the car, we ride to the concert hall, we get out of the car, we go into the concert hall, we sit on the same row. I got our tickets all together on the same row, listening to the same performer perform at the exact same time. After having eaten the exact same food, drink, dessert, etc., and rode in the same car. And then after the concert was over, I pulled them out one by one. I had people help me do this. And I interviewed them to see which people had the same experience. Now, since everybody went through the exact same things together, how many of you would be willing to bet that we all had the same experience? Write in the chat, hit me up in the chat or come off on mute and share with me why you think they had the same experience. If you think they had the same experience, and if you don't think they had the same experience, why you don't think they had the same experience. See someone saying, nope. Anybody? Come off of mute and tell me why you think they had the same experience or why you think they didn't have the same experience. Anybody? Come on. I see some nopes in the chat. Nope, nope. Why you think they didn't have the same experience?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Gina,
good morning.
hi.
How you doing, Gina?
Good. How are you, Mahdi?
I'm doing great, doing great.
Great. No, I think they probably didn't have the same experience. I'm just thinking of that game of telephone we used to play when you say a word and by the time the word gets down the line, everybody whispers it in each other's ears and it turns into a whole different word by the end of the game. So I think everybody just brings their own perspective to things. So I'm wondering how it turns out, but I think they didn't all have the same experience.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Tanine said they had totally different experiences because what they see, perceive, and hear is filtered through the lens of their own experiences influenced by cultural norms. Beautiful. Thank you for that, Tanine. Jacqueline says experience. Somebody come off of mute and explain your answer a little bit so we can get your voice into the room.
Good morning.
We hear from somebody. Good morning. Good morning.
This is Jacqueline. I'm sorry. I'm just waking up. We see things differently because we had different experiences.
So we see things differently because we had different experiences. So we start off with different experiences, and so we then create different experiences from that point on. Is that what you're saying, Jacqueline?
Yes, our perspectives are different.
Beautiful, beautiful. Is that Kaisha from Facebook? They didn't have the same experience due to their own perspective and their vantage points. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for putting that into the space from Facebook. Let's work to create a distinction right quick, because what I found in my coaching practice is that we really don't know what experience is. And get this, we have a saying that experience is the greatest teacher, correct? Isn't that a saying that we grew up with? I don't know about y'all, but I've heard that almost all my life. Experience is the greatest teacher. Now, there's a reason why we say that is because when we understand what an experience is, we understand why experience is teaching us and who is creating the lesson for us to learn. So now there's a difference between an event and an experience. Now we have to make that distinction. There are events that unfold in our lives, and then there are experiences. What's the difference between an event and an experience? So let's look at the example I gave you. The experiment was I took them on an event to eat dinner. That was the first part of the event. The second part of the event was we took a ride in the limousine to the concert hall. The third part of the event was the concert itself. Those were events, all right? Now, when we interviewed people after, we got into their experience. So what was the difference between the event and the experience? What's the difference? Somebody come off of mute and share with me what you think the difference between the event and the experience. Wendy, you had your hand up?
Maybe the experience was something that happened externally, and then we have what was experienced internally.
So the event is what happened externally.
Externally.
And the experience is what happened internally.
Internally.
Ooh, I like that. That's on and popping right there, because see, we have to get clear that there's something going on outside, but what's going on inside is a whole different thing. Like the gumbo is being cooked on the inside, not the outside. So now I want you to get that there's a whole bunch of things happening to us on the outside, but we all are not making it mean the same thing on the inside. All right. So does anybody else have anything to say about the difference between the event and the experience? What's the difference? Because it's important for us to see that. All right, go ahead.
The anyone's experience is their response, their reaction to their perception of any particular event.
So their perspective or their response to any particular event. That's what an experience is. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you for that addition, because we're building on this. So true. So here's something, we use the term, I'm going through something, or I went through something, right? All of us in our lives go through things, but not a single one of us make those things we go through to mean the same thing about ourselves. All right, let me give you another example. Two mature women on a flight flying out of the country, and the plane almost crashes. There's a lot of turbulence, and they may think the plane is going to go down. And out of that event, they both create two different experiences. One creates the experience that now that she almost died, that she has to start living. And for her, living meant that she wanted to go climb some mountains that she never climbed before in her life. She was a mountain climber. The other one had it mean she had to get her life insurance policies together and get everything ready for her for dying. So they both made two different experiences out of the same event. I've worked with people who were raised in the exact same household with the exact same parents, and they all had a different take on what their parents were like. In other words, they all had different experiences with their parents, even though they participated in a lot of the same events together. So now, what are you getting from this, in this distinction? Because this distinction is important to make, because if we don't make it, then we really can't go any further into understanding what I mean by we're making all this shit up. So what is the distinction? What you're getting in the distinction?
Good morning, this is Jacqueline again. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I like your answer. I was trying to make sure I understood it though. Go ahead.
Yeah, my Aunt Frances used to say this to us all the time, because things would happen and then we would run back to her, and each one had their own story about it. And she would say, 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. we were perplexed as children. What do you mean?
You trying to figure out what she meant by that.
Yeah. But as we get older, then we realize, okay, somebody might see it as half a dozen, and somebody might see it as 6 or whatever. And just like with the glass half empty and the glass half full, like it's your perspective on how you view things, what you believe about what you see or experience.
Beautiful. That's good. Thank you for that. Anybody else? What are you getting from these two different things? Events are always unfolding in our lives. Our lives are full of events, right? They're very eventful. What we have those events mean is completely different from the event itself. Sometimes, let me ask you this question. So when we think about an event, events do not move. When they happen, they don't move. They are static. They stay in that time zone in that moment in which they happen. What moves with you? What do you take with you? What do we take with us? Talk to me, y'all. What do we take with us?
We take the experience with us.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. We take the experience with us. The memory is the experience. That's what the memory is. The memory is the experience. The things that we had, the events mean, and they stay with us. And now I want you to get something. One of the reasons why you do not see a hearse a U-Haul following a hearse is because you don't take nothing else. You can't take no material things. The only thing that our soul takes with us into our next life is the experiences that we've had. In other words, the things that we've had, we've made things mean along the way. Now, when you think about this, this is some deep stuff, and I want to get to some more depth of the conversation. So when I was 5 years old, my mom and dad divorced. The marriage was a very volatile marriage. My dad abused my mother on a regular basis, and I thought when they decided to get a divorce, it was going to make it easier on us, me, my two brothers, and my older sister. But it got worse because my mom was left alone to take care of us because my dad, just left and he married someone else. And so one morning, I woke up at about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I observed my mother having sex with a man that I'd never seen, didn't know who it was. And while we were sleeping on the floor, because we lived in a one bedroom shotgun house. So my mom didn't know that I was observing it, and it impacted me greatly. So that event of me hearing the sounds, watching what was happening, I made out of that event, I made the experience that meant that we weren't lovable and that we wasn't very worthy. So that became the meaning that I made from that event, and that meaning would travel with me from the time it happened to a large period in my life where I would have that meaning be applied to who I was for a while. Now, what I want you to get is that who created the meaning? Who created the meaning? Who created the meaning? Y'all talk to me for a second. Who created the meaning? I did, right? Thank you for that, Doug. I created the meaning. When we create the meaning, oftentimes what we tend to do is we don't see that we are the creators of the meaning. We project responsibility onto the person who created the event. So for years, I didn't see that the meaning that I created. I saw and held my mama responsible for the event. But here's the thing. I was talking the other night about how as children, we don't understand the things that the adults are dealing with, right? And as kids, we think that the whole world revolves around us. And we don't have an understanding at all about what our parents are going through, that they're dealing with their own personal stuff on some levels, they're dealing with problems on some levels. And so, but when we interpret the world, when we make sense of the world, we try to make sense of it, we always do it based upon the idea that we say it must have happened because something is wrong with me. Children make things their fault because we see, when we are born, we see everything as about us. So I made it about me. Of course, at that time, I didn't have no way to realize what my mother was dealing with, all the stuff that she was going through just recently, coming out of divorce, not having no money, being a young mother. None of that stuff, well, of course, at 5 years old, you don't think about any of that stuff. So I had it mean that I was unworthy and unlovable. How do you think that impacted my life? That meaning that I made, and I want you to get this, that meaning that I made. How do you think that meaning that I made impacted my relationship with women? Because I asked that question, I use myself as an example because I've worked with thousands of people who've made meaning from events that have happened in their life that have impacted their lives as far into adulthood. And until we understand that we are making this shit up, that we made it up, we don't have the power to unmake it and transform it into something else. So what was the impact you think that meaning had on me in my relationship with women?
You probably chose women who, let me see how I could put this without making it sound bad, who were not the quality or the standard that you deserved, because you're choosing based on how you felt. So you probably made choices that were counterproductive to you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, there was a taste of that. You right on point. There was a taste of that, right? So I want to hear from a couple other people too. What do you think? How do you think that impacted my relationships with women?
I want to share, M, that there are a few comments in the chat,
Okay.
and let's go back there. First one I saw was from Osea, and I hope I'm saying that name right. And they said, you perhaps never felt like enough. Tanine says, ego base, that's their stages of development. Some adults are stuck in development. This clearing this morning will free your soul if you continue the work. And
Beautiful.
Rachel says, possibly showed up with insecurities. You didn't trust. You never felt like enough. And let's see what else we have here. From Jacqueline, she says, children instinctively understand the concept of creation, but as they get older, they forget they have the power, they have that power, and the adults around them do not know how to clear that up because they don't know it either.
Powerful stuff.
Yes,
powerful stuff.
There are a couple more comments there, and
all right, go ahead.
But we can I can either read some more, or you
can
go ahead,
go read a couple of more, then we're gonna be able to get into this a little bit deep.
All right, so our next comment comes from Zakia, and she says your interactions were probably very unbalanced. Charmaine says you probably chose women who were able to nurture you as your mother did or did not. Abimbola said you use women for sex, not love. Rachel again says, on the other side, you could have became a people pleaser. Martine says, I'm guessing you chose women who fit your narrative.
It's some good stuff. Y'all could be a coach. Y'all could be therapists, right? Now the thing is, yeah, because you're able to see, right, that there's going to be some deficiency. So now let's go back through that. Let's go back through the event and the experience. So y'all know what the event was. The experience is what I had the event mean about me. So what I had it mean about me was that I was unlovable and unworthy, right? So that became the view I held of myself. Secretly, that was the view I had of myself. Now, here's the thing that we got to get. You can only get from you what you see in you. All right, I'm gonna say it again. You can only get from you what you see in you. So my approach in my relationship with women was, since I thought I wasn't good enough, I created a completely different character that I thought was going to be accepted by women. And that character was the hero. So I took on the role of being that guy who did everything right in relationships. Because secretly, what I was trying to do was prove that I was worthy of being loved. So literally, I was working for love, like literally, like you go on a job, you know, who you work for, I work for love. I'm working to prove that I'm lovable, which was exhausting. And here's what would happen. I would create relationship situations where I felt like a prisoner because the real me couldn't come out. What I mean by real me, the part of me that still had problems, that still had issues, I couldn't even bring them out, right? And on one particular occasion, I'm in this relationship, and I remember feeling depressed, and I decided to share that I was feeling depressed. And it was like, I was like, oh my God. She really tripped. She tripped for weeks about how she couldn't believe I was depressed, how she couldn't believe that I was feeling down. There's no way I'm feeling down. How could you feel down? Not you. And we'll go on and on and on for weeks. And it was then that I woke up to the reality of the shit that I created that was not working to serve me. So I created this whole character that I've been playing, and people took that character from me, but I knew it wasn't me because I was feeling so lonely, So empty on the inside, nothing that I did in the relationship really fulfilled me because the real me wasn't showing up. I completely created all of this. Now, I want to ask you a question. Can you identify, can you see in your own life where you have created a character that you play that has taken the place of your authentic self? I use myself as an example because, you know, it makes it easier on my clients when I model it first, because with the things I'm talking to you about is not things that I haven't gone through or experienced myself. Let's talk about that for a minute. What character have you saw yourself playing? Teresa, I see your hand up.
I created many characters. It depends on who I was dealing with and how much I felt like I had to conform to their way of thinking, because I didn't really know who I was, even comfortable with. I didn't really understand, try to seek out who Teresa was. I mean, I'm a lot better now, and when I find myself, slipping back, I'm like, hey, that's not who you are. So, come back, because I was doing it for such a long time. But now that I'm, understanding who I am, and really what I feel about myself is that I learn new things about myself every day. So when I'm doing something new, I'm just like, hey, girl, nice to meet you, because it just be so phenomenal. And, how I'm just embracing, the beautiful Teresa Ray Scott. And I'm complete.
Thank you for that, Teresa. Really appreciate you, revealing that and showing and telling us that. Because it's so important that we be able to, speak these things out to create room and space in our mind. Anyone else? Who or what character you saw yourself playing? Because they're like familiar characters, what I call archetypal characters. There's the hero, there's the black sheep, there's the comedian, there's the pessimist, the victim. Those are characters that the world gives us to play that takes the place of our authentic self until we decide to come back home. Y'all familiar with the story of the prodigal son, right? Who left home. Oftentimes most of home is not necessarily a place that we live. Rather, home is a place where we are one with ourselves. That's home. That's the true meaning of home. The place where we are one with ourselves. And when most of us, when we are children, we leave home and go out into the world and take on different characters. And those characters can oftentimes bring us to falling even down in the pig's pen and have to come back home, right? So, but the journey that we are making is what we've created through our own stories, stuff that we've made up. So experiences really are the stories that we tell about ourselves. Every experience that you create, because they are our creations, no one can create an experience for us, are telling a story about the way we see ourselves. Naja, you want to share? I see you got your hand up. Thank you for having your hand up.
Good morning, Mahdi. Good morning, family.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you? So
doing great. Doing great.
Good. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about my younger self who, like you said, similar to your experience when my parents divorced, I made up that my father also divorced me. And it's just all the time. He became absent. And after my parents' divorce, my brother and I rarely saw him. And he would call and make promises, but, just wouldn't deliver. And so I became the dependable one. I became the person who, if I told you I was going to show up, I was there. I became the person in my family who remembered everyone's birthday. And I would call everyone on their birthday and I would send them a card. I became the person who, if you were going into the hospital because you were sick, I was the one that would make a meal for you and come visit you in the hospital and check on your family. Like I became the rock and everyone could depend on me. And it wasn't until, very recently that I realized that that's not who I am. I mean, I like doing it, but it's exhausting because I'm showing up for everyone. And there are times when I feel like people don't show up for me in the way that I show them because I have become that person, because I made up that I wasn't worthy. And this is the way to be worthy. This is the way to be loved, to be dependable, to be everyone's everything whenever, it's needed, regardless of your own needs and, what you need to do. So that's who I became.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Because, your insight on that is like going to help other people to really be able to start seeing it even more so. Because see, I used to, I got exhausted. I was exhausted because it became my prison. And it didn't take me, I got so good at it, it would take me only a month to build that same prison in the relationship. And at first, before I became consciously aware that it was the meaning that I had made up on myself, I was blaming every woman that I had a relationship with that they just wasn't good women, because a lot of them would cheat. I would attract relationships with women that would cheat, right? And it was like a reoccurring thing. And I used to blame it on them, but it wasn't them. It was the vibration of the story that I had made up around my own self that was attracting those situations repeatedly, because what your self is trying to do, what your soul is trying to do is free you. So what you will find yourself is caught up in a cycle of the same experiences. Now, of course, you can't have the same experience twice, but what's happening is you're actually having the same reoccurring experience because you're applying the same meaning to those events over and over again, right? So you find yourself caught up in it. I was exhausted. I was so exhausted because it wasn't all that I was. I'm a good guy, right? No doubt about it. So every character that you play uses pieces of your authenticity. It uses aspects of your authenticity. That's why it feels so natural at first, until you get into it and you notice that you're not experiencing any fulfillment, any real joy from it, but you actually feel like you're working for something, right? And not in a good way, working like you are almost like a slave for whatever it is that you think you're after, right? Anybody else want to have got anything else to share about how we're making this stuff up? Because listen, we make this stuff up. We create a story about ourselves, and then we tend to blame it on other people. We blame the people who were involved in the event. But it's not the event that we have power over. What do we have power over? What do we have power over? It's not the event.
Our
what do we have
perspective.
power over? Our perspective.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Anybody else? What do we have power over?
Can I? And this is a mother-in-law. I'm sorry, I'm not on camera. Hold on.
Okay.
Wow, this is too deep. Wait a minute. Spirit is. Why can't I? Hold on. I don't know why I can't bring my camera on. But anyway, spirit is spirit is a wonderful thing, because right now I have a friend who says that at 11 he left home. He was abused, and he realized that he is an imposter. The very same conversation that you're having right now. And he said that the women in his life, his wife, they weren't in his corner, and that he's a good man. The same conversation is just amazing to me. Unfortunately, he's been coming on Woo, but he's not on this morning. So I'm assuming that is for me to hear that, so that in navigating our relationship, that's something that I need to be cognizant of. I'm just taking notes, but I really appreciate this conversation. I really do. I never heard that. I heard about the imposters, but I always related it to myself. But as far as actually hearing you speak him is just blowing my mind, and I'm taking notes.
Thank you for sharing that, sister.
Yeah, and the only one we really have control, the only thing we have control over is what we made it mean to us.
Right.
And every event. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, sister. Finish.
Oh, that whatever event occurs, it's what it means to us. It's just what it means, what we made it mean.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that. I hope y'all are getting that, because the power side is on the side of knowing that we made it up. Get that it could have meant whatever we wanted it to mean, but we had it mean certain things. But we have to take responsibility for being the one who gave it the meaning. So if there was a list of things that I would offer for you, number one would be to accept responsibility for the experience. Right? Because if you don't accept responsibility for what you made it mean, you're going to be trying to hold people responsible who are not responsible for what you had it mean. The creators of an event, it could even be in an abusive situation that you found yourself in, because I was an abused child. I'm not saying that it was my responsibility. The events of my abuse were not my responsibility. But what I had it mean about me was my responsibility, was something that I would be forced to live with. And it would live in my head. So no matter what dates and times I showed up in, that meaning kept showing up with me. All right. Jacqueline, you have your hand up?
Yes, sorry about that.
No worries.
Myself on camera. Yeah, I just had that similar experience that my mom was talking about with my nephew. He had some issues. Granted, but I was always in his corner, and he turned on me because I don't know. I guess I triggered something in him that made him, or he was coming from that perspective that we're talking about this morning. And so whatever he went through with his mother and his father, my brother, he projected that onto me. And he cussed me out something fierce. And I didn't even respond to him. I just said, okay, I see where you're stuck. And I really hope you get some help. Because I don't know, just all of the work I've been doing with myself recently and seeing, what's going on. I didn't take that on. In the past, I would have took that on and been very hurt and felt very guilty and responsible for what my brother did or did not do, and what his mother did or did not do for him. But I found myself just saying, okay, anything else? All right, try to let him get it all out. He got it all out and got it all out on me. I hope that helped him. So I'm sitting here, I'm listening, because I'd like to know if it's even possible for me to help him. I have learned that people have to help themselves, and I can just be a witness to it. And I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you for that, sister. I don't like to use even the term help. It's like, how can we support people, right? Because this idea of help gives people the wrong idea. It makes them think that they're incapable. It gives off that message. But the idea that we can support people in their own processes of growing, because we all have to outgrow this stuff. But we first have to recognize that the events were not our fault. I'll make this clear. The events are not our fault. But what we have the events mean about ourselves are our responsibility. We'll say it again. The events are not our fault, but what we have the events mean about us are our responsibility. And it's our responsibility to transform those things, right? So we got I think Charmaine is that from Facebook? From Facebook, Charmaine? Charmaine, you want to read
yeah, that's me. That's me. Yeah, the event is not our responsibility. Let me go back to where I can see, because I can't see it in the chat. 1 second.
Oh, you just type what I said. I was thinking that was from somebody from Facebook. I read it real quick. It was like,
right.
Oh, okay.
What I added to it is that it's the story that we operate from. And unless we unpack those stories, we will continue to operate that way. And it's important to go back. And that's one of the things that I love with this community, and also with Be the Tree, a community that Shawnee has for women. And one of the sessions we do from the very beginning is unpacking those stories. And it takes them a minute to really understand that those stories is what you're operating out of, today. So we unpack all of that, and man, oh man, oh man, I'm always one of the tools is the story box. I'm forever story boxing because I can remain in story, and when I get rid of all that clutter, all of that junk, and I really look at the facts, it ain't what it is. I'm making it up to be.
Right. Isn't that? Now think about what I like what you just said. You're making it up to be. See, stories are what we're making it up to be. Now, here's been the problem because nobody pulled our coattail on this. We can make it up to be what we want it to be, but in most cases, we make it up to be in a way that does not serve us, our health, especially our mental health. We often make it up to mean something that works against our mental health, that we end up having to struggle with for years. Because now I want y'all to understand something. See, we are finally waking up to the reality of the mental health issues we have. Just about all of us have mental health issues. If we created stories that do not see us in a healthy way, that sees ourselves in a deficit manner, in other words, that we're less than, not good enough, that's a touch of mental illness. We should not be ashamed of that. We should be working to transform our mental health, because as long as you see yourself in a negative light, that is not mentally healthy. Do everybody get that? And we should not be ashamed to admit that we went through some things and we had things mean certain things that caused us, or that as a child, from a childhood perspective, we applied things to ourselves that caused us to not see ourselves correctly. And these stories are capture the moments in our life when we didn't see ourselves correctly, that we unconsciously still see ourselves incorrectly from. All right, we got some hands up in the room. Wendy, you got your hand, you go on and go first.
I have a question. So we established that these stories develop from childhood
Most of them do, yes.
But does a child have the ability to identify that, hey, look, this is a story I'm making up about me, and make a change? They don't. So the only time we get to heal is when we get that level of awareness, or we're exposed to sessions like this, that we could do anything about it. But then by then we created a whole long life of events that should not have happened. So
yes, thank you for asking that question and bringing it to the forefront, because that is so true. As children, we're innocent. We don't know what we're doing. Most of the time, we don't even remember we did it until you start doing work as an adult. And you go back and you're like, oh, that's where that came from, right? So we don't know. That's why there's a concept out now called reparenting. Everybody ever heard that concept called reparenting? It's like the inner child in you never grew up from that point where that story was made, that saw themselves as less than. That inner child in you gets stuck. So I was 5 years old for a long time. I was 5 years old up into my 30s. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I knew, and I felt like a 5-year-old in the presence of adults. But what I discovered lately was that a lot of the adults were not adults either. They were children themselves, right? So we were all pretending to be adults, but we were still children, because we were stuck at a point where we were seeing ourselves incorrectly. And until we saw ourselves correctly, we can catch up to speed with who we really are. Everybody follow me? So the kids, as children, we're not. So when we become adults and we recognize this, we have to reparent ourselves. In other words, we have to grow the inner child in us and get them caught up with the reality of who they are, or who we are, which takes some work. But it's some beautiful work, because we got the opportunity to create the stories, or create the life we want for ourselves, rather than being the victim of our own stories that we created for ourselves when we didn't know who we were yet. Teresa.
I just want to say thank you for this conversation.
You're welcome.
That it depends. I feel that there are some parents who are teaching their kids, who listen to their kids. I feel like a lot of problems with why children are going through so much stuff, because sometimes kids are very gifted and talented, and the parents don't listen to their kids. There's a lot of things that happened to me when I was younger that if I was listened to, I think I knew some stuff was wrong, but because I didn't feel comfortable to speak up, I was, felt like me speaking up would be problematic. And I even see it with my son when I was raising him. It's like a lot of times, we feel like, oh, kids should be silent, and not spoken, not speak. And so I feel like us, since we are in, reason why I'm saying, I feel like we have opportunity to be healers in other people's lives. So since we learn these things, it's like, one of the things that I feel that we all should do is make sure that we heal other people and help other parents or whoever that we can come into who has children to help them, know that, how we handle, like use ourselves as an example, as a teacher to say, hey, you know what, I did this to my child, this happened to me, and just give the information out, whether they take it or not. But I feel like we have a responsibility to give people the information, like even in little doses of it, but just constantly, like just don't give up, because I feel that the problem with our I'm gonna go back to another point. The other point too is that this world system doesn't teach you to be who you're supposed to be. They tell you be somebody else. So it's not just our parents, but it's the system of this world that tells you don't be, yourself. They say, oh no, that's not good enough. Be somebody else. It's just a lot of stuff that I feel that we as people who being healed could heal others. I personally feel like we are healers in this whole community, and that we have a responsibility to heal other people, as we heal them, because there are some things I've learned from being in Woo that I never, and in other arenas, in the last, I feel like COVID saved me, really saved me from myself, and so I got an opportunity to see things, and I'm constantly experiencing new things, but I do feel that we say, like I've even said, oh, I can't help the community. Yes, I can. I could just tell my story and help other people, show them, hey, like I'm doing that more now, because I feel like I've been so busy, like dealing with my stuff, or even sometimes feeling sorry for myself, that I was like, you can help a lot of people, but it's like, we can't keep on allowing the excuse that I can't help anyone, or, I got nothing to say. We all in here have a lot to say, because we have changed. We've been in here for like over 2 years, and we have changed tremendously. So we have a responsibility to help other people, get well. We have
Thank you,
that power,
Teresa.
and I'm complete.
Thank you so much for that. Because you're right, we all are going through stuff. And here's the thing: we could focus on our parents, right? But we don't have no power over our parents, right? And the idea of reparenting is the idea that you are now going to mature and grow the inner child in you that got stuck. And if you focus on your parents all the time about what they did or didn't do, you're going to be wasting your time, because the power is not in changing your parents. The power is in changing the stories that you told about yourself. And when we take back the power to change the story that we told about ourselves, and we start seeing ourselves from a different light than before, we see ourselves correctly, then the results we can get in our life will be totally different, because we see ourselves correctly now. Tanine, you had your hand up?
Yeah, it's good morning, everyone. Thank you
Good
for
morning.
this platform, Wu and Mahdi. I
You're
wanted
welcome.
to share behind Teresa that we do have a responsibility to teach what we know. And my granddaughter, she's 7 years old, and her dad is not present in her life the way he should be, and she loves her dad. So I am resurrecting her a lot. She's taken on the role of caretaker. She is not understanding boundaries. So I'm teaching her that because I know that and I see it in her. One of the things I do with her is she's like, can I call my dad? Of course you can call your dad. What we do with her is do not allow her to continue to call him. And I speak to her about boundaries. I said, do not continue to call people that don't respond to you. And I know she doesn't understand it fully, but I know that when you plant seeds in children, they grow. And when she needs it, as she continues to grow, she'll have that. I also teach her it's not your responsibility to take care of the family to pick up the slack for the brokenness in it. Now, her mom, great mom, but my granddaughter, innately, she was created sort of like a mother kind of person. I see that in her. But there's a balance to everything. And I want her to know that you have to make sure you take care of Layla. Her name is Layla. She's 7 years old. And I already see the signs of her creating these images or creating this facade and mask. And it's my responsibility to hold the vision for her, to hold it for her and to show her a better way. And I've taken on that, like, okay, I'm her person in this work, but it's starting early. It's starting early. So to everyone on here, if you know this work, if you are working things out and you have younger people in your life, show them, speak to them as if they are adults, because you're planting seeds. I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Janine. That was real good, because we need to keep that stuff in mind, because kids are making meaning. And the traumatic part about when kids experience that is the fact that they are left alone to make their own meaning without any input from adults, or try to understand the situation, the surroundings that's causing them to create the meaning. We know some people have to leave. They're going to be leaving at 8. We want to thank you for tuning in. Those of you who are in the community right now, those of you who are listening from Facebook that may have to leave, we want to also remind you to give an offering, to make a donation. And right now in the chat, there are different ways in which you can do it. And please don't forget the new monthly donation or membership, a love offering that you can give to the WU community to keep this thing going. It's so important that we give back to the things that give to us. The world is full of distractions, things that take our energy, that don't give energy back to us. When you find something that gives your energy back to you, that you give your energy to, you have to invest in that, because that's how you grow your life. What we have a tendency to do, our community has a tendency to invest all of our energy into stuff that don't give nothing back, no energy back to us. We got to stop that, because we do that because of exactly the things that we're talking about right now. So check it out in the chat before you leave, and go on and make a donation to either the WU community or to us who are now facilitating this process. Martine, I saw you had your hand up. I want to make sure I could get to you before we move on.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Quick question. Forgive me. I usually don't do Sunday WUs because I live in Houston, so I'm an hour behind y'all, but I couldn't sleep anymore. So I rolled out of bed, came on here. So I'm not really sure about your credentials or anything, but I wanted to know if you're aware, like psychologically, why is it our natural inclination to do that? To, I guess, choose the negative.
Well, that's a good question. What I found it to be is the environment itself, right? Because we also say, like in the work that I do, we would say that children aren't born racist, they aren't born sexist or bigots, that they are trained that, right? So our nature, if you watch kids, the nature of children is to be loving, compassionate, and caring. We see them play with each other, we see them accepting of each other. But what sets us up for that is the fact that as children, we really believe the world revolves around us.
Okay, yeah.
And so when something happens, we always make it about us. So if the parents leave, the child thinks it's because they left because of them. Like the divorce of my mother and father, even though I watched them fight each other and tear each other up, I still thought it was about me, that they were doing that for me.
And then we carry that habitually into our adulthood. That's what I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because when we get stuck in that age or that state, we don't realize that we are still a child. We can feel it because we have problems. We have fears of adult figures. There are certain things we feel very, very insecure about. And some of those things hide from us, but in certain, they don't show up in all areas of our life, only in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, it was in my relationship with women. It just kept showing up. So I was like, why does this keep happening to me? If you ever find yourself asking that question, why does this keep happening to me? You will find that it's in a certain part of your life it keeps happening, maybe finances or whatever. It has something to do with a part of yourself that never grew up, that never matured. in that area. What you got to do is find the stories or the way that you define yourself that you made up that's holding you back to a time that you are no longer in, right? And the world is still demanding of you that you be present right now. So any place in our life where we're still in our like inner child, we're not fully present, which means we're not as powerful as we can be in that moment or in those situations. Any
So in
other
aspects
questions?
of life, you're literally stuck in that stage of development.
Yes.
You have not made it past that milestone yet. Thank you so much for this, because my daughter is always, she says something that drives me crazy. She says that she was raised by her grandmother. She even wrote this in her college essay. And that's her perception. And no matter how many facts are presented to her, that's just the story that she's rolling with. So I'm gonna have her watch this playback. I know Catherine is always saying in the comments, how are the children? And Tanine touched on this too. This really is something, because if it's so common, it's something that we should stop in its tracks as soon as, a child is able to understand and digest this information. So thank you.
You're welcome. It is very common, extremely common. As a child, I remember I had created a story that my parents were not my parents. I was switched at birth. And I just knew this were not the people that decided to bring me because of the behavior that they saw. But that was a story that I created. And that story was real to me. I wouldn't tell anybody because, imagine you going around telling people, that ain't my parents. They switched me at birth. So that was something I held inside myself as a child. And that story grew up with me as an adult, right? And it's amazing in terms of the things that we make up. But my point in naming the presentation, we making all this shit up, is for us to realize that we really are making it up. The thing is about life is something to be made up. But no one told us that we had the power to make it up and that what we make up becomes our reality. And so no one told us that we have the power to make it mean what we want it to mean so that it becomes the reality that we really want to experience. We've made stuff up that now we are experiencing as something that we really don't want to experience, not realizing that we have the power to transform that. We really do. Anybody else have any questions? Oh,
I just wanted to say, Martine, that was an excellent question, and I love your answer. But another thing is that we want what we want. You know what I'm saying? And as a kid, we don't realize we can't have everything that we want. So when we don't get what we want, we get mad, and then we make up in our mind why we didn't get it. And usually it's not because our responsibility, because we put responsibility out there. A young mind just does not take responsibility for anything in their life. Everybody is supposed to be serving them. So I think it has a little bit to do with our humanness when we're younger. Well, our humanness, period. Humanity, I should say, as being human. We want what we want. If we can't get it, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just want to point that out.
It's survival. We have a survival base in ourselves. So, a child, if you keep this in mind, that a child comes into the world totally dependent on his parents for survival, right? Totally dependent on his parent for survival, which also means that's the reason why kids also believe that everything is about them, because they are totally dependent upon their parents, totally. And there's no one, like teaching the child things about adult stuff because of course it's not appropriate. So the child is having to fill in the blanks on their own. So if an event happens in a child's life that no one explains to that child, or that child has no one to talk to about that event, that child will make up its own story about what that event means about them. And if it's emotional enough, painful enough, usually more the painful ones are the ones that go deeper into the subconscious, that will become a part of that child's programming. Now, that child may grow up as an adult, and in adulthood, not even know that is influencing them. It becomes like a shadow projection in their subconscious mind. So every now and then, or it could be very intense, it shows up in certain areas of their life on a regular basis, and they find themselves struggling to get past it and don't know where it's coming from. because the world tells us everybody else, when the reality is we've created it ourselves. We've made it up ourselves. Anyone else? Teresa, I see you have your hand up again.
Yes. I wanted to say, I had a conversation with my son yesterday, and I was molested and raped quite a few times, and he wanted me to tell him who it was, but I knew, if I said to him, who the person was, that it would have affected him. But he actually had like a kind of a breakdown while we was having a conversation. He just started crying. He was saying that because that happened to me, that I didn't hold him, and that is true. And so a lot of times when that happens to you, like, to be honest with you, I don't even know what the hell I was doing, to be honest with you, as a parent, or what I didn't do, because I realize now that I was going through so much different emotions, possibly operating under different characters, because I was dealing with that stuff so much, and I didn't really have anyone that I felt safe to talk to. I've done a lot of work on it more in the last 5-6 years. So you're talking about, I'm 63, so you talking about a person living with something like that for all these years, and not even feeling comfortable, to even be comfortable myself, how I felt about how I look, all that kind of stuff. So, so when he started breaking down, crying, it bothered me, that, that it affected him. And so I realized that what I realized too with that happening is that sometimes as a parent, I didn't realize just how much, me being that happened to me, how it affected him. And so I, something that, I have to really just think about. And not only did it happen to like it seemed like during that time, I still think it happens a lot, because we've been talking about that on the show, on the show, on the Wake Up, about people being molested and the response of what happens to you. But the only thing that I can do is just I don't feel that it's safe for me to say to him like who the person is, and but I could just he's in a different state, but I can make sure what I'm doing is making sure that I hug him, in any kind of form way that I can, because it has affected his life. It has affected my life, and it affected how I looked at people. It affected definitely how I looked at men. It affected me how it just didn't affect with me. It affected me in so many relationships, because I just feel like during that time, like my voice got lost. So I was over exerting my voice a lot of times, because I was like, damn it, I'm gonna be healed. I'm gonna be heard no matter what. And so and then I didn't have good listening skills from it. So it affected so many areas. So now, as a mature healing, like I'm healing. It's not nothing that I think healing is a progress, is a progressive
It
part.
is.
And there's times when I get triggered, by certain things that people might say, and I got to remind myself, Teresa, it's not that person, it's not them, so, and then, dealing with a parent, that was very abusive. So, but I just feel like who I've become now is one of the greatest persons that I've ever, become. But it was a lot of bullshit that I had to go through, and I wouldn't wish it on no one, So there was a lot of times that I was not, like me and my sister have a conversation now about stuff that happened, and I just don't remember. And so I was like going through changes like that about the last couple weeks about it, because I was saying, like, damn, like what the hell happened to me that I don't remember all this stuff. But when I realized that with the abuse, anything could have happened to me, and I could have been operating in any kind of
That's
mindset.
trauma. That's trauma.
Yeah, it's trauma. Yes.
That's our trauma. Trauma impacts our memory. It will block us from being able to remember our large parts of our lives. Because if something is so traumatic for us, if the event is so traumatic, it acts as almost like a power outage. A boom, like in your brain, you have a blow that disconnects you from certain parts of your memory to protect you. And usually, as you get older and you're able to take responsibility for the stuff you've had it mean, you start reconnecting to memory. You start remembering things about yourself that you didn't even know happened.
Yeah, and that's been happening a lot. And I've been like, okay, Teresa, it's not happening now, so, and I just talk to people about it, but I just want, to us, just to encourage anyone who that experiences that. It's a lot of stuff that could have happened that, we might not even remember, because it was so traumatic, So thank you so much for the conversation. And I'm just glad that I could actually say it without feeling like I want to fall apart. So that right there is healing for me. And
That's
I'm just
beautiful.
very grateful to this conversation. Thank you.
I can tell you're reclaiming your power. That's so important. Thank you for
Most
that. Because
definitely. Most definitely.
that's a big part of the healing process. Catherine?
Grace and peace. How are you?
Grace and peace. Fine, sister. How are you?
I am renewed. That's how I am. So what I want to share with the community is that what I've been on in this community, I came extremely broken from a couple of different traumas. And I realized what I got from the community was that I, like you, was raised in a home where it was violence. It was noise. It was my father hitting my mother going to the emergency room, stuff like that. And for some reason, it impacted me in a really deep way. I'll say that. And who put me on camera? I'm not even dressed. So it impacted me in a deep way. So I'm just moving along, living life, because I was a really cute girl. I didn't do well in school, but I kept going. I tried to do what people expected of me. So fast forward, I get to woo, grown woman with grown children, and realize I was holding such resentment toward my parents. Oh man, me and my mother, we was just, I'll just say estranged. That's the word I'll use. However, while I was behind a door with no doorknob, I had opportunity to think about how I wanted my life to be. And I wanted so much to have a loving relationship with my mother. But however, I realized that I was annoyed with her for letting people hit her, because my father wasn't the only one who hit her. It was men after that. And I was annoyed with her about that. And then while in womb, they said, your parents did the best they could at the time. And I received that information. And that freed me up to be okay enough to heal from the trauma of that. My father did not leave me. Yeah, that's what Kathy told herself. Her father, who used to love her and bring her special presents, left her. And I had a void. And that was the life I was living, a void without a loving father. But he wasn't a loving father. He didn't know how to be a loving father. So it was after I had children that he has never seen or didn't even care to see. I can't even say he didn't care to see. He just never saw them. So, yeah, that's what I want to share with the community is through surrendering. That information came to me through joining Woo, accepting some simple truths that, my parents don't hate me. They didn't set out to torment me. They just doing the best they could at the time, what they had to work with. And I'm so free. I'm so freed right now to heal. I'm not healed, I'm healing. And that's another thing that came to my attention. I got married for the second time when I wasn't even healed from the first divorce. Mercy God. So we're walking around, and this is what I want to say because I know time is of the essence. If you don't heal what hurts you, you will bleed on those who did not cut you.
He sure will.
Right. So, and that's, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be guilty of the things that I condemn in other people.
Thank you for that.
That's what I'm living. I'm living a life that shows that I don't want to be, and I am not going to be guilty of the things that I condemn in other people. So the work is on me. My sons are going to watch me, take care of me, and then they're going to take care of themselves, and then they're going to know how to take care of me. They're not going to take care of me how their father took care of me, they're going to take care of me how they see me take care of me. Thank you so
Beautiful.
much for showing up again today. And I look
You're
forward
welcome.
to the next time you come back, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. I really appreciate what you just said. Because, I can imagine what your mother was stuck in to be in a situation where she would allow people to abuse her, where her inner child was stuck. And even though she was in a grown woman's body, her inner child probably was stuck in a very young age, right? To feel powerless in those situations. So, I remember what helped me in my healing process was my mother before she passed. Because, when I first got a hold of this technology, I'm learning this technology. I went to my mother and I said, look, I want you to know why I have resentment for you, why I resent you, and et cetera, et cetera. And so I told her about the situation that I saw having sex with this man. She apologized, and she said she was so ashamed by it. But this is what she also told me. She said, you know what, son, Mama has been doing a lot of healing. She's been working on herself because she made a lot of mistakes in her life and a lot of stuff that she had to deal with. And this is what she told me, y'all. She said, I'm doing my healing. You got to do your own. She said, so if you think you're gonna come back to me over and over again and put this in my face over and over again, she said, it's not happening. You got to go and work on dealing with yourself because you got to heal what happened in yourself. And I remember when she told me that, I was like, who in the hell she thinks she is? You mean to tell me I don't get a chance to make her feel bad all the time every time I see it? No. She was saying, no, you're not gonna be making me feel bad. You're not gonna be bringing me back through it over and over again, because our ego will have us want to beat people up rather than focus on healing ourselves, which was caused by us, by the meaning that we created about ourselves. Once again, I'm not saying that our parents were not responsible for creating the events that led to that, but the meaning can only be transformed by us because we were the ones who created it. So if we don't deal with the person who is in charge of the powerhouse, which is us, then we don't ever deal with the person who can have the power to change the reality of our lives. It's important for us to understand that, because what I believe is that this mental health crisis that we see in our society is the result of children in adult bodies who are over their head. And life is demanding of us so much more. And as a child in adult bodies, we can't deal with it. We have to catch up with ourselves. And that's what this conversation is about. We're making all this stuff up, and it's preventing us from catching up with ourselves. When we catch up with ourselves, who we show up as is powerful, unstoppable, and creative, and just beautiful, right? We are our soul's creation. Our soul chose us above anything else to be in this world. So guess what? If we catch up with ourselves, we can be present to how powerful that is and experience it, right? Any other last few comments or questions we got before we start moving toward the end?
The comments have been like continuous and continuous. Let's see where we should start. Let me see what stands out to me going up the thing here. Tanine says here, well, let's go to Facebook. Robert Sinclair, arrested development. And until we do the work, we hold ourselves hostage until we free ourselves by breaking the cycle.
Yes, Robin.
Yes, and that stands out to me. Robin, her message has a lot to do with cycle breaking. And, you have to recognize that we are cycle breakers. And I love what you said about your mom, who said, I'm doing my healing, you got to do your own.
Yeah.
That's a powerful statement. Tanine Harmony said, today is taking me into a deeper reflection, deeper stillness, to ask deeper questions. I've been asking God about my mother's experience to understand her behavior. Today I got the message to go deeper, and the Spirit will reveal the answers to direct my prayers.
Beautiful.
Yes. There's a lot of, I want to say what I've seen in the chat is a lot of support for the people who shared verbally on with you, and then a lot of support for what is being shared in the chat. Charmaine says here, we have to release judgment and forgive others in order to heal. Tanina again says, love it. I'll write about that today, sis. And she has responded to something that was written in the chat. Jacqueline echoed your term power outage. I felt that too when I heard it. And she also says the push in education now is to look at students through a non-deficit lens, because we tend to lean into the negative, the deficit view. Maybe we need to implement that into our conversations. Powerful. And again, there's continual shares. The chat is having its own conversation around the message, which is always beautiful. And for those on Facebook who would like to experience what that is like, again, we invite you to join us here in the Zoom space. And
beautiful.
You, Brother M.
Thank you for that, brother. Thank you for that. You know, this is such a rich conversation that if we lean into, there's so much for us to gain, so much for us to gain. We have been making this stuff up, and we've been making it up that in a way that has not worked in our favor, has not served us. So as long as we have these voices in our head where we're finding ourselves being critical of ourselves, we know that we are operating from a deficit place, right? So when we start seeing ourselves correctly, it means that we're seeing ourselves from a place of strength and power. We're seeing ourselves as what we've been able to survive. We're seeing ourselves as what we've overcome, what we've conquered, and we acknowledge it, and we honor ourselves for being the survivors that we have been, but also we honor ourselves so that we can catch up with who we are and get into the rhythm of our life, our real life. Most of us have been living a life that has been given to us by this world. We're not living the life that we wanted to design for ourselves, because we got off track with being someone else that we weren't when we got stuck in the child state. Catherine, we're gonna take Catherine, and then we're gonna have to be closing it up, right? Right, Brother Carl?
Yes. Thank you for sharing that about what happened with you and your mom. And I want to say to the community, how often do we allow people to come and return to us to go through something devastating that happened that we took part in? Like, yeah, you know, my son, he did that last year, right when I was mourning the loss of my second husband. My second husband passed away March 18th last year. And right after that, my son comes to the door and tells me, you know, he rehashed just something that happened 20 something years ago, how it impacted him. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You serious? I thought I was like in a fog. I was like, you seriously, right now, you bring it to me how traumatic it was for me not to be in your life, you know, for a couple of years and stuff and whatnot. I was like, seriously? And I said, just what your mother said. I said, the best thing I could do for me is be my best me. But then I thought about how often do we allow other people, because if my son had the nerve to come and do that, how often are other people coming around and we just accepting that and not walking in our, I'll just say, forgiveness. Because I forgave myself for what I did that impact other people. Now they want to keep living it, then that's on them. However, when I realized that I was forgiven and I am whole, then I'm not accepting the stuff other people bring to me. And to me, that's what happened between you and your mother. Your mother saying, yo, you want to keep doing that, you know, that's on you. And that's what how can I heal my son? His father made him think that it was my job to heal him from the impact of what I did to him. No, Pumpkin, that's your choosing, how you want to show up in the world, how you want to be in the world. And so that's another thing. As women, we oftentimes take on what other people give us because we don't feel that we're worthy or whole. So just a memo out to everybody. I am worthy, I am whole, and I choose to be the change I want to see.
Beautiful. I would say this in closing. How we see ourselves is what we get from ourselves. How we see ourselves is what we get from ourselves. And if we don't change how we see ourselves, we cannot get anything different than what we've been getting. Because that part of ourselves is attracting to us on a regular basis what is equal to the way we see ourselves. So if we don't see ourselves correctly, life is going to continue to attract to us things to help us correct our vision. Trying to get some vision correction of ourselves. So I want to let y'all know we have a special offer. You know, last time I was on Woo, I shared with you all my free course, and it's in the chat. The course is Living as Part of the Solution. Please take the opportunity to download that course. It's free. It's going to help you process some things. And there's also, I've also included in there a podcast from my company, the Soul Focus Group, and the podcast is on the butterfly effect, going into the story of the caterpillar and the butterfly, because it's often the story of our life. You know, the caterpillar and the butterfly share the exact same soul, they share the exact same life, but they start at different places and stages in their life and end at certain stages. And so that podcast is something for you to listen to. It will help strengthen you in your healing process. All right. So my contact information is, you know, as you see on the screen, 281-832-3379 for people who are interested in coaching. On Facebook, I'm Berwick Mahdi Davenport at Facebook. On Instagram, I'm Soul Focused M. And my email address is mahdi@soulfocusgroup.com. And my company name is Soul Focus Group, and you can see it at soulfocusgroup.com. You know, looking forward to interact with you and more, and to help you as much as possible. Don't forget that, you know, this is an offering-based experience, and whatever you give your energy to gives energy back to you. Stop giving your energy to things that are not giving energy back to you. So to make a donation, you go to Zelle or QuickPay, and you do Soul Leadership Development at gmail.com, or Cash App, $ Spirit of a Woman, and you put in code number 576BDM, code number 576BDM. Don't be afraid to invest in what gives back to you, because if you want to keep it going, we have to invest in it. Can't look for no grants for that. Also, you know, keep this community going, support this community. Go on and donate and become a monthly give a monthly donation, 25, 50, 75, or 100. Support what supports you. This is how we keep this going. And coming up on Monday, John Carl Martin, our very own John Carl Martin, will be presenting Beyond This Is Bliss. Beyond This, I like that, Beyond This Is Bliss. Join us on Monday, on May the 2nd, and that's going to be on fire. We got Cheryl Glenn, and she's going to be on Tuesday, May the 3rd, for Self-Care Color Healing. Self-Care Color Healing. Please do not miss those events. There are opportunities to continue to grow and develop.
Thank you so much, Mahdi. Brother M.
You're welcome, Carl.
Brother
Yes.
M. At this time, I would like to extend a welcome to the new members of our community. Welcome to a community where we choose to learn, elevate, and ascend. And if you're new, if this is your first week with us, your first month, if you're just joining us and you feel new, share in the chat that you are new to our community, and our members will welcome you with open arms and love. Whether you're on Zoom, whether you're on Facebook, just put it in the chat. Leave us a little note. Let us know you're here. And again, if you're new, this is our schedule. We're here 5 days a week, from Sunday to Thursday. And Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, we have our 90-minute workshop from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Mondays and Wednesdays, a bit shorter, sweeter. from 7 to 7:30. And we're always streaming live on Facebook. If you need a reminder for this amazing growing community we have here that we're building together, you can get your Woo alerts by texting Woo Nation to the number 74121. Again, that's text Woo Nation to 74121. Another way you can support this amazing community is by going to visit the swag store. Don't just visit, make a purchase. We have a number of items that you can choose from water bottles to mugs to tote bags, sweatshirt, t-shirts, computer cases if you like, and even masks. We're still protecting ourselves. And you can find our store at bit.ly/woo swag. Please check us out today. And here is another way to stay in contact, other ways to stay in contact. You can register by going to the link bit.ly/wake up movement. You can find us on Facebook in a private group at bit.ly/woo community, a public group by going to the link bit.ly/woo nation. We are on Instagram, family, and you can go to our handles there at Wake Up Everybody Virtual. Bit.ly on YouTube is how you find us there. And you can always email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. And at this time, I'm going to stop the screen share and invite Mahdi to his love shower. This is where our community verbally welcome and bless you this morning for the session you provided. Come off mute, family.
Thank you, Brother
Mahdi. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Brother Mahdi. Thank you. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for sharing your Sunday with us, Mahdi. We learned a lot.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful session.
That
Thank you,
was
brothers, for
Bless you,
hosting
bless
that.
you.
exceptional.
May we all go out
I
and
am going to continue
support
to
one
do the
another
work
in our
and
celebrate other
I'm
things.
breaking these chains, you know,
Have a great day,
creating
everybody.
the me that I want everyone else
And
to
for
be, the
Virginia
me I believe
Beach.
me to be. And I just thank everyone here for their, you know, share. And it's definitely giving me something to talk about with my children. And thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Love y'all.
Way back on deck.
I can't wait till we can meet in person. Looking forward to that.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Love y'all,
Thank you,
family.
Marty.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Blessings. Have a wonderful day or
Just thank you for everyone
happy
who's
Sunday.
feeling. Yes, have a great Sunday.
Yes.
Our family, have an awesome day. Peace and blessings. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Marty.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.